Hey, 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 everyone. So glad to see you all here on another Sunday night. Thank you so much for being here. And let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Miss J All Day. Okay, everyone. And welcome again to another Shaking Up the Algorithms where we are healing one another one day at a time. So, with that being said, this show this week I have been waiting for this for a long time. Okay. And I have some new faces along with some old faces, some familiar faces, I should say, that are on the show as well this week. And I really wanted to touch on this hot topic of being tempted by fire because a lot of times in relationships that comes with the territory, we are tempted in so many ways and easily distracted. But if we are not in a place of committance, of trust, and being willing to withstand during those times of trials or overcoming obstacles, we can easily falter. So I wanted to bring these couples together to kind of give us all an outlook from their perspective on how they maintain. That helps single people like myself. uh, give us some knowledge and some wisdom on what to expect, um, and how to be able to best handle those situations. So, with that being said, I'm going to introduce our guest for the evening. And first up, I just wanted to say I met this person on a whim. Okay. I was at this, kind of give y'all a little backstory. I was at this event where I was blessed. When I say blessed, I was blessed to get there for free to volunteer that night at the One Hallelujah tour. And it just so happened I was talking to a young lady who was also a volunteer, and I was kind of, giving her my little story and my little testimony and things of that nature. But during the show, this gentleman who's coming up with his wife was emceeing the show. And he gave this awesome testimony about how his church helped this homeless woman who was actually suffering with cancer, and they helped to house her. And I was like, oh my God, that I could resonate with that story because I've been in that situation before. And so I was telling the young lady, the other volunteer, and she said, you know what? I think he should be on your podcast. And I was like, I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know this man. She said, oh, well, that's okay. I'm gonna ask him for you. And I was like, huh? No, don't do that. She said, I know you don't want me to do this, but I'm gonna ask him. And she did. And lo and behold, this man said, you know what? I would love to be on your show. Matter of fact, give me your phone. I'm gonna put my number in there. At that moment, I'm just gonna let you know. At that moment, I knew that God had something big for this show. I was really at a point where I was willing to give up. Okay. But it really let me know that God is in the midst of this. And if I just continue, He is going to make the provision that I need to have this show do what it's supposed to do. So, with that being said, I am going to bring up Doctors Calvin and Tandria Collins. Thank you two so much for being here. You two have
having us.
you two have blessed my soul beyond measure. You have no idea. And I haven't even formally, been introduced to you, Dr. Tandria, but he has spoken so highly about you. I feel like I already know you. So I'm pleased. I'm pleased to have you both here. Next up, and it's funny, I'm doing a little backstory on each of y'all. But next up, I have a young lady and her husband who are new to the show that's coming up. And needless to say, she is from my hometown. We actually worked together many years ago in a call center. And I knew she moved here to Houston, but we kind of lost contact with each other. I mean, we're still Facebook friends, but you don't see people. And it just so happened I ran into her a couple of weeks ago at another concert I got to go to for free, the I Got Away tour. So I'm like, God is just doing some stuff, okay? He's just doing some stuff. So I ran into both her and her husband at this concert. And I'm like, okay, God, they're next up on the show. They just gotta come on. So with that being said, let's bring up Eric and Grace. Grace is a songstress, by the way. So I might have to get her to belt out a few tunes before we leave. But let's bring Eric and Grace Covington to the stage.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
You are so welcome. You are so welcome. And lastly, like I said, this couple right here, they are familiar faces on the show. Love, love, love them. Okay. They came on. Matter of fact, it was my second live episode that they were on. So they've been rocking with the show for a long time. They are huge supporters, and I support them as well. And I just love them. I just love their story, how they met, how they just, it's amazing. That's all I'm gonna say. It's amazing. They may not go into detail about it, but I just love it. I just love it. So with that being said, let me bring up my big brother and big sister, Maria and Chris Henson. You two come on up. Are you on mic?
Blessings. What's up, everybody?
Blessings, everyone.
We got both the coaches on deck. Just to give you all a shout out as well for what you all do. If any of you are on Facebook, please connect to their page called Postured. Is it Postured for Proposal?
Correct, you got it.
All right, Postured for Proposal. Trust me, I'm a member myself. So for any of you that are single and desiring marriage, I definitely suggest that you tap into that page that they have. They are an awesome team. They work together. They are just so real. I love them. I do. Y'all just keep it funky all the time. So I love that. So let's get into this because, like I said, Tempted by Fire. It's a riveting title by itself, but there's a reel that I'd like to kind of display, and I will say this: it kind of triggered me a little bit because it made me understand why there are so many failed marriages. Yet and still, while there are so many people that are afraid of marriage, just because of this outcome. So I want to play this clip, and then I want us to be able to, kind of dive in a little bit. So give me a minute.
So he came home and he was like, babe, I lost my job. I'm like, all right, cool. So a month later, like it was time for the bills or whatever, and I'm like, the bills due, babe, or whatever. And he was like, okay, I'm not working. And I'm just, in a month, like, it's all kind of hustles. You could have been doing something or whatever. So I told him, I said, look, if I pay these bills, are you going to pay me the money back? This man had the nerve to tell me, why should I pay my wife back for paying our bills? I told this man from day one, my money is my money and his money is our money. Why should I spend my money paying the bills? Like, no, he should have paid me back. So that's when I decided, like, I can't be with this man no more. So I had sex with his homeboy. Like, we all cool. I texted his homeboy or whatever. We went together. We left. I met up with him. And we was chilling, we was drinking or whatever. And I started venting. I started getting emotional. One thing led to the next. I did not purposely mean to do what I did with his friend. But things happen. Like, y'all understand what I'm going through. So, his friend ended up giving me some money or whatever. And he was like, babe, look, don't worry about it. Handle whatever you got to handle. Like, his friend was every single thing I desire in a man. Like, everything I desire in a man. And, ain't nobody trying to hear my side. Ain't nobody trying to hear
Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you why I was a little triggered by this. Because, for one, I feel like as an African American female, I'm already put into a certain box, and I'm already stereotyped in certain ways. So to kind of have a female to say something like that and to have it to kind of go viral, it makes it bad for all Black women in a sense, because unfortunately I feel as if we're judged negatively, and it only takes one person to do it, you know. Um, and it's just unfortunate in some ways that life has become that. But at the same time, her thought process was completely off. It's just like, if that's the lifestyle that you want to have, it's almost like, why even get married in the first place? Because your intention wasn't to be with someone that you wanted to live your life with. Your intention was just to be with someone to keep you kept. You can have that with a boyfriend. You don't have to necessarily be married. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my drawback with that. But I said I really wanted to kind of bring that up and then dive into some other things as well. But that was a really good precursor because, again, as I was stating behind the screen, I don't feel like now people even value marriage anymore. There is a spiritual commitment that you make to that person before God to say, literally, I'm going to be with you for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. Like, those things are not just some fly by night words. You know what I mean? These are things that you are expected to live by, and that's in spite of illness that may come, in spite of temptations. Because I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there. All of y'all are pretty attractive people. So it's not like when you walk out the door that temptation is just gonna avoid you because you got a ring on. Sometimes it attracts it. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to really kind of dive in to kind of get into your headspace a little bit to see how even as married couples, it's an, how can I say this? You all have definitely taken the vows seriously. I will say that. But some people don't. So what is it that made you want to be serious about it, basically? And I will start with Maria and with Chris. And I'm
did you know that I was burning? I was burning on the inside. I'm like, oh Lord. I felt like, when you're in double dutch and the ropes are going. I was like, what's
you ready to jump in?
Praise the Lord. Okay, so first of all, let me just apologize on behalf of this woman's ignorance. For those, my brother Will is on. Yes, red flags everywhere. I think the difference is some people now go into marriages as a contract versus a covenant. A covenant is meant to last forever, right? And when contracts are made to be broken. And so when you come into marriage looking at it from that aspect, then it's already doomed. It's already set up to fail. And so we need to go back to the biblical intent of what marriage is. Once we go into the biblical intent of how God created marriage to be, then the way that you look at it becomes different. Clearly she's not saved. So, there's someone, you have believers and you have unbelievers. So already the playing field is unleveled. If you have someone who is not a believer, to when someone is a believer, and then even within the realm of believers, people have, just different belief systems. They have different tolerance levels. I could talk about this all day, so I'm going to let my husband go. Go ahead, babe.
Yeah, no, listen, look, she was definitely foolish. And I'm not going to offer up any apologies because she doesn't represent, at least in my opinion, the majority of Black women out there. She was just a foolish train wreck. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the question was, why did we get married? If I'm not mistaken, why did we get married?
You can go with that. You can start with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, the reason why I got married is because I mean, just based off of what I seen with my great grandparents, my grandparents, my mom, my dad, etc., my stepdad, I just seen the beauty of love. I seen the beauty of what unity can do for not just family, but for community as well. When you see, when a young man and a young woman see representation of like a good marriage, a healthy marriage, when they see that type of love flowing, when they see, just prosperity in the household, of course they want to, represent that after the fact. Like, okay, now it's my turn to continue to carry on that example, that torch, and pass it on to, my people and my family and also my community. As a Black man, that's my responsibility. My bad, y'all. My dog was scratching at the door, just to be transparent.
She wanted to get out.
It was as a Black man, it's my responsibility to, push forth that example. This is what healthy love looks like. This is what marriage looks like. And we see now, Ms. J, you brought up nowadays, you see what, society is pushing. You see social media, you see media, you see the toxicity, you see the negativity. Do people even desire marriage anymore? I would say yes, to a degree. I'm not going to just say like, yo, most people, a lot of people, or nobody wants to desire. They want marriage. People still want marriage. It's just that we need to continue to push that example that, yo, it's out here. It's prosperous. It happens. It's not for the weak, to be honest with you. It takes some work, but for me, marriage is something that, I just desired because I saw what it did for my family. I was raised in a big home, big family. I seen, the fellowships on Sundays, big mama house, everybody coming together, and tons of cousins and uncles and aunties and all of this other good stuff. And that's the that's the fruit of marriage. Just a big family. So for me, that was it. I just wanted to, I wanted to create my own lane for my family, and just continue on the legacy of just marriage, and just being that example in my community that us good Black husbands, we out here and we making it happen, man. Dr. Calvin, I see you, brother. What's up, sir? What's my other man down there? Eric, I see you, brother. What's going on, man? Shout out to you, Kings, man.
And then it didn't hurt, that when he saw me on Instagram, he thought that, my children and I were siblings, but really I was the mama. So it hurt that it was a little bit attractive to him.
And this is why I said I love you too, because your story is so interesting and yet so relevant to today's time, being that you two met online. So for you to have met in that, I guess that more fashionable sense of how everything is running in the world today, and to be able to sit here and to be the godly couple that you are, and to have the values that you two bring to each other and to your union, to me, that says a lot, because you see a lot of people as well, even, doing online dating, and it doesn't go that way. You know what I mean? So to see that you all are so successful with it, that's why I love y'all. I really do. You're a true testament that although some bridges of communication or some tactics that are used are not all to someone's downfall. Like, they can be successful if you work with it. But you have to have a certain mindset as an individual that that's what you want. You know what I mean?
Yes,
again, you have a lot of people that meet online and they don't have those same values, or they don't have, that same type of chemistry, and they just meet up to hook up. You know what I mean?
It's about being intentional, Sean.
Right.
So can I just say this really quickly? So for those who are watching, I said I was not going to date anyone online. Let's be clear. I said that I was not. Listen, everything that I said I was not going to do, that's exactly what I did. God has a way, right? So I said I wasn't going to, do anything online. I did not go on a dating site. He found me on Instagram on a post. I said that I would never date anybody, definitely not marry anyone younger than me. He's 14 years younger than me. There's so many things that I said that I would not do, right? But here we are. But he was very intentional. He did not ask me to be his girlfriend. He said, "Are you available for courtship?" That was the question. Are you available for courtship? Right? And so that was within 3 months of us meeting. He proposed 6 months later after that. Our second date in real life, he proposed. And then he moved here from Dallas to Rhode Island the very next year, and we were married. So there were no games played.
Wow.
Love you.
All right. So let me hear from Dr. Calvin and Dr. Tandria. Let me get some feedback from you about the reel itself, and then if you want to add a little bit about your marriage story. I love what I've seen already, but the people don't know. So if you can give a little tidbit, I would appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. So unfortunately, we did not hear the reel. It was on mute. But just picking up from a little bit of what you said and what the other couple said, I agree that with them that we definitely have to be intentional with what our goals are for marriage. I think we have been misled with the American dream and coming in on the white horse and having the white picket fence and having 2.5 children and a dog, my brother.
Right.
Yes. So that, however, has given us a false sense of security in what marriage actually looks like. So I was 15 when my husband and I started dating.
Wow.
But we've known each other together. We grew up in church. And so he always likes to tell the story that I chased him around the church and I pushed him down and got on top of him and kissed him. Yeah. But I don't remember the story that way.
Young, 5 and 6 years old.
But this coming December, we'll be married for 28 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so
35.
Oh my God.
the other 35 years. We dated 7 years and then got married. So married very young, 21, like the day before my 21st birthday, and started having children at 22. So our oldest is 26. Our middle son just turned 24, and our baby son will be 14 next month.
Wow.
But marriage is work. But we have maintained our courtship during the entire time. We are friends. We still like doing silly stuff together. We plan our dates, and we're very intentional about just keeping it fun and not getting stale and not letting what others may say about marriages, about getting old and getting used to it and so forth and so on. We make it intentional. We like to have fun. We act silly. We have on these mustard shirts and the mayo shirts, and it just kind of reflects our personality.
Yeah, and it's just so awesome to be here. And just for some of the viewers who don't know who Calvin Callens is, on tour I'm Pee-wee. I'm Pee-wee Callens. So that's my name actually, Pee-wee Callens. But marriage, man, that's I love it. I was fortunate to be raised by my grandparents. My mother and father was there every day, but I was raised by my mother, father and mother, Pastor Rudolph, Daisy. And man, I just saw the love. When we first got married, my grandparents had 10 children. On my mom's side, there was 10 children. On my dad's side, there was like 11. So I thought we were going to have 10 children until I started seeing the prices of Pampers and formula and all that. I changed my mind. I wanted 10. But it is awesome. We are blessed We have all of our prom pictures together. We went to every prom together. So all of our prom pictures are here at the house. Before my grandfather passed away, his last words were to me. And it was to, she's considered as my god auntie. This was my grandfather, grandmother, goddaughter. But they told me to marry her before my grandmother died. She told me to marry her. And you know, we've had some shaky times. We had some all of that because we live in the public eye. We've been pastoring. This will be our 26th year as senior pastors in Florida also. So not only having the lights on us for entertainment, she has a all ESC school with over 400 students, 100 staff. I'm on the road traveling. We're pastors, you know, community coaches. So everybody is watching us, but knowing we don't care what everybody say, because some people that are watching you are ready for you to fall, are praying for your downfalls.
Exactly.
So we've got to make sure that we are best friends, even when we don't see eye to eye. We still gonna be friends. We, you know, we can still look at each other. And she got me on this tight shirt right now. I mean, it's so. And but that's what marriage is. It's just staying friends, loving on each other, and just staying reverent, like the other couple said. And I know we're gonna continue talking about anything else. Right? No. All right.
Okay, when you said what your original question was, how people take it serious. And, if you don't take your commitment to Christ serious, you're not going to take your commitment to your spouse serious.
Sure.
So if you are wavering and you're in and out with your relationship with Christ, then how do you think you're going to interact with another person?
Right. That makes sense. All right, Eric and Grace.
Hello.
So it's been so much good stuff. What you got?
I know, it was really good. So unfortunately, we weren't able to hear the video either. It was
Okay. So let me kind of give you all a quick refresher. Okay. Basically, this young lady stated that she was married to this guy, and she told him beforehand, before they married, that she wanted him to be able to provide for her and to pay all of the bills in their household. Well, he lost his job, and 30 days later, she said, "Oh, well, you know, babe, the bills are needing to be due. You know, they're coming up. What are you gonna do?" He said, "Oh, well, why would you ask me to pay our bills? You know, you can take care of those. We're a couple." And she said, "Oh, no." She said, "When I told you before we got married, my money is my money and your money is our money. So you need to figure this out." And basically what she did, she vented, as she said, to one of his friends. And something happened between her and this friend. And he gave her the money to pay the bills. So again, that kind of goes back to what was the intention really of you being married. There was no good intention in that. So that's kind of like where we are, you know.
Okay. Well, that was a lie.
That was
a lie. So, obviously the intention was not a proper one. It was all about the money, all about being financed. But in reference to our relationship, our marriage, I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia. 2 up, 2 down for all the followers out there. So I've been in Houston for about 9 years. And a month in, I met Eric at a conference. Funny thing is, sister, what's your name, Maria? She said that she was never going to meet a man online, no online dating. I said I wasn't gonna meet a man at church because they say you're gonna always find your man at church. Now, mind you, I'm a preacher's kid, been in church all my life, and I know that there's more than one way, to get together or to find your significant other. But for me, it just so happened to be the church. So they were right. All of the singles ministry conferences, they were correct. I saw him at the deeper level conference, smiling at me. He was focusing on the Lord, but he had his eye on me too. And
Funny how these stories never.
and so what drew me to him, because I did notice him, even though he noticed me first. What I noticed was the way he worshiped the Lord. I looked over to my left and I was like, okay, okay. I see him worshiping the Lord. Now, this was a conference that was a few days. So the next day, he comes to me saying, oh, what was your name again? I'm like, okay, I never told him what my name was, but I'm going to go ahead and let him know, my name is Grace. And so I told him I had just recently moved to Houston. And then from there, we talked, and you can go ahead and add to the story.
Yeah. So we after the conference, we've spoken every day since then.
Mm-hmm.
And as she mentioned, she was just barely in Houston. So just like with the Henson couple, like I totally understand. You see what you want, you go get it. Don't be waiting around. And it's been great. It's just been really, really, really good to be able to see that because I wasn't even supposed to be at that conference.
Yeah.
I was assisting some friends at a to be like a worship leader, and it was actually a worship conference for worship leaders. And I had filled in and played in the band. I was like, oh, I'd never, just like she said, she never. I was like, oh, I never want to play on a worship team and stuff like that. That's the weight of that is too much. And they was like, oh, well, Israel and everybody's gonna be there, and so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. And if you know me, anybody that knows me know that if you make eye contact with me longer than 2 seconds, that means you want to have a conversation with me.
Yes.
So we're gonna be having a good time and just kiki in. And I met all of her church family, and that's how I ended up being able to be around her and just to meet her. And going back to what you were speaking about with the lady, how she, from her perspective, told her then husband about what her expectancies were. I look at everything to the best of my ability with the biblical worldview. And the Bible does say, like, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. And a woman is a wife before she enters the marriage. And a lot of times in society, they teach that you become one after. And I think that's some of the things that mess with some people the way that they look at it. Just like a man is supposed to be a husband before the marriage. He's supposed to be understanding provision, understanding like kingdom things, how to provide, how to get over things, how to handle tough situations. Because God causes us to be like a head covering for our wives, right? And a woman can have her face beat, right? But if her hair is not together, she gonna wrap it up. And they speak about like a woman's hair being a glory, kind of like a filtering system. And when I started studying that before I even met her, going back to kind of like what I think the gentleman should have done is understanding like you have to give your wife peace of mind. It's what a guy does, and when a woman is asking about things, it's our job to kind of like help them and help your spouse through those situations because I mean we're the bride of Christ, and when he said come to us freely.
Yeah.
He said he asks us anything and the spirit is going to tell us. And I've been finding that when it comes to like marriage in and of itself, when you start to communicate, situations become easier to navigate. Communication creates great navigation.
And I just want to piggyback on that really quickly. As far as communication and being intentional and being clear about your expectations, right? So our first conversation went like this because prior he gave me his business card. And so I'm like, the way you're looking, it doesn't look like this is business. So let me find out, what it is. So, so I said to him, I noticed, you gave me your card. Was this for business, or are you trying to, um, look for, like a companion type thing? I said, because I am not looking for new friends. I don't need new friends. Is this something that you really want to pursue? And I was like, and I'm single. Put that out there.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm so glad that you let me know that. So from the start of our relationship, we knew, hey, we're not talking just to be talking. Also, during our conversations, we knew what our expectations were in a marriage. So I don't know how their communication was in the beginning, but obviously she told him, I want you to take care of me. I want you to do this and I want you to do that. He had to have had some kind of red flags go off, like, okay, she might be a gold digger, but he pursued it anyway. So yes, she's in the wrong, but I think old boy's in the wrong too.
Yeah.
I
My
agree.
perspective.
And that touches also on something that my friend and I were discussing this morning, because it's so important, whether it's a relationship where you're courting to marriage or even in the marriage, that you actually listen to your spouse, because it is during that listening that they're telling you exactly what it is
Mhm.
they need. And if you miss something, you could fumble the ball completely. You know what I mean? So I think even in that situation, in this reel, the communication or the level of communication just wasn't there at all. Because had he had any insight at all to pay attention to what was said, again, that would have been a great red flag for him to, even consider pursuing. But let me just kind of tap into this also, because again, you all have been married for various amounts of years, and some of you grew up together, right? But even in that time, there, I'm sure, in your singleness, in your pursuing each other, in your communing with one another, there have been certain situations where somebody else might have been attracted to you. You know what I mean? Because like I said, you all aren't happenstance type of people, okay? You all look great, but my thing is, again, and Maria stated it earlier, when you really are about kingdom business, it's a different way that you present yourself, for one. um and again, there are certain things that, world wise, is are tactics that could be used to sway you or distract you. But again, as Dr. Tandria said, when you have a firm relationship in Christ, that will sustain your relationship or the way you value your spouse. And I think a lot of times, again, that is not something that, I don't want to say it's not taught, but I will say that it's not adhered to. A lot of people don't adhere to that. There are a lot of wayward Christians. There are a lot of wayward believers. You're on the bandwagon when things are good, life is great, you know, or you want to get back on the bandwagon when things is rough and you need God to change some things. You know what I mean? But to be able to actually say, I'm with you and I'm standing 10 toes down regardless, good or bad. Even in relationships, sometimes that's easier said than done. But again, that is the commitment and the intention that you make when you stand before each other and you make those vows. I mean, I feel that way. But let me kind of get some insight from you all as well. Grace, I'm gonna let you buzz in because you look like you had a little something to say on that. So
Oh no. Oh, go ahead. He does.
Well, in mentioning like about like with like I was talking about with head covering, right? And I know a lot of times they say that a woman is like the help me, right? And as a person that like loves like Hebraic things and different things of that nature and being able to read it, the word picture that's given there, right? And this all ties into everything that you're saying is like the picture of a tree. And you know when the tree is like in a baby infancy stage, you can let it grow regular, but it may veer off. When a woman, the way that God said, hey, it's not good for Adam to be alone, he was talking about the tree. Because you remember when Jesus healed the blind man, he said, I see people as trees. He said, I'm going to make for him, but it's kind of like a steadying rod. And you know, when you have those baby trees and they put the stick in the ground and they tie the rope around it to help it be erect, that's what a woman, a biblical picture of what a wife is to a husband. And I told a friend of mine the other day, if you trusted her enough to marry her, then you have to trust her enough to listen to what she's saying. Like you have to trust your choices. And a lot of times men get in a relationship and then they like, oh, well, I'm the man. I say this, I say that. But I'm like, yo, but you also said that she was good. So why you ain't valuing her opinion? And guys, sometimes we forget that. Because I mean, Abraham listened to every husband listened to their bride. Christ listened to us.
I like
So
that analogy. I like that. I like that. Pastor Pee Wee, what you got to say, sir? What you got to say?
I love that what my brother just said, and
Mhm.
and like you said, I have a beautiful wife, and we have some beautiful black queens on here tonight too. But I have a beautiful wife, and I know that other men in the day we living in too. Everything else looking so. Hey, so you better worry about some of the mothers too.
Right.
But don't disrespect me. And I'm talking about the other man or the other person who may be looking at my wife. Now, when the disrespect comes, I know I'm a preacher and I know I'm all that, but now I have become a warrior. Because
Amen.
one thing I won't do, I won't disrespect you. I won't talk, try.
You breaking up, Pastor?
All right, can y'all hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm in Florida. I don't know what happened, but but when you come at my queen and you start to disrespect me, and disrespect mean you trying to get in her inbox, you trying to send letters, you trying to do now we on another whole playing field. Now, not only am I 10 toes down, I'm 2 ARs down, I'm 9mm down, I'm 40s down. I'm fight mode because now you're trying to mess with what God has blessed me with.
Yeah.
Amen.
And so that's another thing, because one other thing, and I let my wife, say something. Well, my wife will say something too. It's not always individuals that may bring the temptation. Is other things, like death, like different things. When my wife lost her mom, I should have got her some counseling other than church people talking to her quickly. Different things, like when I lost my father, I went through a whole mindset and different things like that. So make sure we are listening and we are watching too, because we watch as well as pray. So let's look and let's that we see what is going on also, because sometimes silence can say more words.
Good. So my husband is handsome, and he's an entertainer, and he's a pastor. So I don't know what it is about pastors, but a lot of women love pastors. But the Bible also speaks about, a man, he'd rather be on a rooftop than to be with a nagging woman. And so with our relationship, what has, worked for us is I allow my husband to be able to minister and to pastor his flock. I give him that freedom. I give him that flexibility. I'm not a jealous woman. I'm not intimidated. I'm confident with my ability to make sure that when he comes home, he wants to be home. And when he's away from home, he wants to be home.
Oh, glory.
And so sometimes in ministry, people are intimidated and restrict their spouse to be able to fully operate in the ministry. And so for us, as long as we communicate and we know what's going on in others' mind, I would say our communication, we're still learning. It's been 35 years, but we're still learning. My husband is the type that wants to talk right away. When there's something going on, he wants to talk right then. I'm that person, but let me process it. Give me some time. And then when I'm ready, then we can come back and talk. And so now that he has respected that I'm different in my communication, it has gotten a lot better. But and I think that's things that you just work out, that you have to learn to respect each other's space.
And just to add to the video, now that we understand what the video was talking about, in 2005, I went full time as pastor. I recorded my first album in 94. We got married in 96. I was a banker. I worked for JP Morgan Chase. I worked for Citi. So 2005, I recorded my last album with Sony. I went full time in pastoring also. So I walked off my job. My wife was in school. You working on your master's now? She was working on her master's degree. So we were living off financial aid and just a little bit of the church money. So God has blessed us now. People see what we drive, see how we live. She preached that last week. He had a conference from junk to jewels. And so they see now, but they wasn't there with the repos. They wasn't there when we had Roman noodles, hamburger and the Roman noodles with hot dogs, Roman noodles with lemon pepper. You wasn't there. But she hung in there. It was a time I was working three jobs and pastoring to make sure she finished school, to make sure all of that. So it's a team. It's team. And I asked her, I said, baby, I knew we was together a long time, but why did you marry me? She said, because I knew you would love me, and I knew you was going to be a great father and husband and a provider. So even when we didn't have, she knew that that was a dream and the ability in me to achieve what we set out to achieve.
And just one last thing, role reversal. We didn't have a specific role. My husband is the primary caretaker for our children. I'm more of, after I went to school, I'm more of the career woman. And I always used to joke around and say, if we ever divorced, my children would go with him and I would have to pay alimony. Because my all of those. And I can't share my relationship with what goes on in your household. It's just whatever works for us.
That's good. That's really good. And I'm glad you touched on that statement too, Dr. Pee-wee, because a lot of times when we look at temptation, we look at it as another person intervening or intercepting. And sometimes that may not even be the temptation. It could be your need for money. It could be because right now you're in a situation where you don't have and you're pushing and striving for more. It could be anything, outside of, just another person. So this too is another reason as to why we could be tempted to find ourselves in a position to stray. It could be even that, we're lacking communication with one another. So we seek conversation elsewhere because the conversation isn't valued in our relationship. It's a myriad of different things that could happen, but it all boils back down to how we value ourselves and how we value our spouse or our mate. Because if you don't have a sense of love, honor, and respect for that person, you're going to easily leave. You're going to easily find something wrong with the situation and say, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. You know what I mean? And I think, too, that's another problem. People are so quick to give up. One thing I noticed, Eric had mentioned earlier, he said that a woman is a wife prior to becoming a wife, just as a man is a husband prior to becoming a husband. But if you don't operate in that, you can't expect that once you get married that things are going to change or that it's going to immediately just be that way. And again, people don't understand that the work really starts prior to the person comes in, because you have to work on yourself first to get yourself right for that person.
Yeah.
And then when the person comes, they just compliment what you've already done. You know what I mean? But there's still a work in progress. You know what I mean? Go ahead, Maria. I saw your hand up. Go ahead.
I'm glad that you brought that up. First of all, everything that both of you, both couples have just shared was really, really insightful and powerful. But I just have to add this whole piece about taking care of yourself. Now, the doctors have a whole different situation. They basically grew up together, right? They started to learn who they are individually and collectively within the marriage. I was already children and I just had a granddaughter. And he was 29 at the time. That creeps. But so we just came into our relationships at different times, but the Lord processed for a year to make sure that there was no residue from past relationships. He really processed me so I was not coming with junk. I was not coming with baggage. I had to do some self-examination and allow the Holy Spirit to do the work inside of me that I could be ready to be a wife again, because I was married previously. So I couldn't take my past relationship in it. I couldn't take my past marriage in it. I had to let the Lord allow, to cleanse me, my mind, my heart, all of that. I really had to allow the Holy Spirit to do that so I could be postured for proposal. But with that being said, when we're talking about communication, one of the things the Holy Spirit dropped into me one day is that we have to have comprehension of the communication. Sometimes people are talking and they're talking at each other, or I know that everyone's had times where you're communicating, but when the other person speaks, you're like, that's not what I said, or that's not what I meant. The communication has to be comprehended in order for the communication to be effective, right? So that's the other thing I want to say. And then the last, guard my gates, right? I have to guard my inbox. I have to guard it. We just spoke of a situation that occurred where I had to see what was happening and shut the situation down because it was out of control from this gentleman's from his end. I shut it down. It was my responsibility to see what was happening, to see that it was out of order, and then to let my husband know about it, right? And so one of the things when we first were courting, he knew that I was a minister. He knew that I gave him examples of things that have happened even when I prayed for people at the altar. done baby dedications and people being overwhelmed and men responding a certain way. Those are conversations that we had prior to us getting married. So he already knew. So, now, like when we're in worship or something like that, if we're doing a conference, he helps me. He's a man of God. We're in this together. So I just have to say, some women, there is a sense, let me just say it this way, there's an aroma that women give off when they are desperate, they when things are not happy at home. Listen, if we're having intense fellowship, I be at home. That doesn't mean I'm gonna destroy my covenant because I'm not happy in the moment. You understand what I'm saying? But we have to as women make sure that regardless of what, we're not giving off any aroma that I'm about to step out because I'm not having a happy moment, just not to allow men to be in our ear conversations. It started in when we just go right back into Genesis. It was a conversation. The serpent was in her ear, right? So I'm just not putting myself in that position. And what about you, babe? What you got to say? He's a little rough. I got more grace.
I ain't got nothing to say, man. Y'all killed it, man. Doctors, Eric, wife, y'all killed it, man. But no, I was I was stuck on what someone mentioned earlier when they said they were speaking about the vows, the seriousness of the vows. And now we're in this topic of how do you handle when someone is approaching your spouse or yourself or whatever. Someone mentioned your relationship with God. If your relationship with God is off track, then everything else is going to be off track, and that's on point. I always say that as well, but I also follow up with the next tier to that is yourself. What's going on with you? How are you treating yourself, and do you have any standards and things of that nature? If you don't have any standards, if you don't have any morals, if you don't have any, just self-respect for whatever, just free flow. And that's not how it should be. If you have standards, if you're about, real self-care, and real self-care is you're not going to put yourself in harm's way. You're not going to put your family, when it comes to defending. Yes, we if someone approaches our wives, we're gonna do what we got to do. We're gonna handle business. We're gonna make sure the op, as these young folk would say, we want to make sure the op know that, listen, we're here. We're the king. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I like what everyone else was saying as well. It's up to that individual, that husband, whoever's is being approached by an outside interference. It's up to them to shut that down as well. You don't know the other spouse. The spouse doesn't always have to come in and regulate. Me personally, I don't mind doing it. I love doing it actually. Well, I don't mind doing it, but I would like for my wife to shut that down sometimes. Like, yo, if you see someone in the box, if you see this going on or whatever the case may be, that's equally your responsibility as well. So I love the self part that everyone was bringing up. Yes, our relationship with God, definitely that's the first step. And then secondly, self, like how you treating yourself. Do you have any standards, any morals? And when you got those things, when you got self-respect intact, you're going to carry yourself a certain way when you step out of the house.
True. Yeah. So true. And speaking of which, because this was kind of touched upon in that reel as well, as far as the financial piece, right? And I think a lot of times it is, I don't want to say it's overrated, but a lot of times, when you look at the biblical sense of a marriage and you hear where it says the man is the provider and things of that nature. And as a man, I feel like there are certain aspects that are true with that statement. But at the same time, and Dr. Tandria kind of touched on this as well, or during both of your stories, you touched on this. Sometimes the roles may shift. Yeah. So if that synopsis or that, that vision doesn't fit your family at the moment. You know, whatever works for you basically is what works for you, right? But in that reel, it was talking about how she mentioned that, you know, he's a provider and he's supposed to pay all of the bills. But sometimes it doesn't work that way, right? So there has been a question posed, and Frederick says, what does provision actually mean to you, and what does it look like?
Cool.
When you were speaking, I was getting ready to say provider doesn't mean always financial.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that he was going to provide for my mind, body, and spirit. Even before he was a pastor, he just poured into me as an individual. Before I had my credentials, before we had children, he poured into, my nickname is Tangy. So I'm just going to say when I was just Tangy. Um, so being able to provide for my emotional needs, being able to provide for my spiritual needs, being able to see me and where in any of the areas that we lack, that he was going to make provision. And the same as me. When I feel like he's on empty, and when I feel like there's an area in his life where he needs to be filled up with gasoline, or we got 90 cars, most of our cars are 93. I know I need to put 93 octane back in his tank to make sure he's on full. So when he do step out on the stage in whatever capacity, he knows how to get back home, and he want to get back home. So we're providing for each other and our children, providing and meeting their needs as well. So it's not just always financially, but it's whatever the lack is.
I agree.
Anybody else want to chime in?
I was just saying I totally agree with that. 100% is not just about finances. My issue with, I guess, it all is the fact that a lot of people, have a worldly mindset as opposed to a kingdom mindset, and there's not much loyalty. Um, this world is, we have a microwave, want to get it right now, type of mindset. It's funny because today, the pastor who was preaching, he was talking about his team. Well, my team is the Steelers, right? I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan through and through. So when the Steelers are doing great, I'm rooting for them. When the Steelers are doing terrible, I'm still rooting for them and talking about how they got 6 rings more than everybody else. And that's the way it should be within, your marriage.
Patriots here. Patriots here.
Say that again. What you say? What you say?
Maria, what'd you say?
I just said Patriots here. Patriots.
Okay, so you
I said
understand?
Patriots. Patriots all
Yeah.
day. Patriots.
Yeah, but see, I hear that Patriots, but I'm still gonna say Steelers because that's who I love. So, but with that said, though, when finances may not be, the best, when it's great, I'm still supposed to be there for my husband. When it may not be great, whether it's great, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We have to know that there are going to be trials. There are going to be tribulations. There are going to be storms. There are going to be, it's going to be rain. But through it all, I choose to be loyal. I choose to work with my husband. If there is lack, I feel like my duty as a wife is to be able to provide if I can, but also help him, build him up. How can I? Okay, so for example, we're both in the entertainment industry, right? So he directs, he does branding, marketing, all of that. Let's say times are slow, right? I'm not just gonna leave him high and dry, figure it out. Like, hey, anybody need a logo? Anybody? You know what I'm saying? Because we are a team. Yeah, we are a team. That like the Steelers, like they're a team. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's why I'm a Steelers fan as well. You know, house divided can't stand. You know how it is. Yeah, no, I definitely see that. And then in reference to provision, I look at not the prefix but the suffix of that word, and it's the vision. And the scripture says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." Exactly, the people perish, and they cast off restraints, right? And I was telling a friend of mine that the word vision is singular, but it affects a multitude because it says the people. And so, as a provider, if a man is supposed to be a provider, he should have a vision for the family. When it gets hard, when it gets rough, what does that look like? And be confident in his choices. Like I said, being confident in his wife, if the roles have to switch. Like when Deborah said, "Hey, baby, like you not going out to war? I know this is what God said." He was like, "I'm not going out there unless you going with me, though." You know, because he was fine with that because he understood the vision. And when you understand the vision, you can move. And that's why, even when it comes to the topic of divorce, something that's not mentioned is that couples that pray together have a greater longevity in marriage. Like the divorce rate is basically non-existent when they went through and actually looked through it. So it's actually not 50-50. And as a man, we're supposed to help lead the family like spiritually, but a lot of times, you know, that weight, which is a big weight, we leave to, you know, our spouses, and that's a hard thing for them to carry, you know. And we have to be a team like that. We have to work together and in building it up.
I agree. I totally agree. You all have really touched on some really, really good points in this show today. Oh my gosh. But before we close, because I'm not closing yet, I have got to support my sponsors. You know, I got so engulfed in this conversation that I just didn't do my due diligence on my end. So I am I am going to play a few commercials from my sponsors, and then we're going to come right back and give out some closing words and all that good stuff. So bear with me for just a moment, people.
Tantalizing Talks, the podcast. Hosted by the love coach, Tosh Johnson. Our focus is on your communication, love language, self-discovery, self-care, sensuality, and sexuality. Helping you to find yourself while embracing change. Sit back and be enlightened by the love coach here on Tantalizing Talks, the podcast.
Living the moment, catching the vibes, conversations with CC. Inspiring people, breaking the boundaries, showing the simple. If you did a dream big, if you did a dream big, I just wanna teach you, making your lives amazing. Conversations with CC.
The Lotus Vision Inc. is a unique publishing company that offers coaching and publishing services with a focus on healing and empowerment through storytelling. By focusing on the individual needs and goals of each author, we offer a range of services that go beyond traditional publishing. Through our unique approach, our focus is to create a healing experience to help authors bring their stories to life with impact and authenticity. Our mission is to revolutionize the publishing industry by providing authors with a platform to share their stories in a way that resonates, inspires, and heals. We believe in the power of storytelling to create connections to make a positive impact in the world. Are you ready to tell your story? For more information, schedule an appointment or email us at info@thelotusvision.com or visit our social media pages. The Lotus Vision Inc., coaching and publishing company. Finding the beauty in your story.
Okay. So I am back. Thank you so much for that quick little interlude. I had to do my due diligence with my show, and make sure I look out for my people, and for myself, just to let you all know, because, I will say I do a lot. This show is not the only thing that I do and the only thing that I love. And I try not to really toot my own horn, but people won't know what I do if I don't tell people. So everything that you saw, I pretty much created. Everything that you see on this platform, I pretty much created. So I'm not just the face of the show, but I'm the producer, I'm the director, I'm the visual artist, I'm all of that good stuff. So I'm thankful that God has really put me in a position to bless me with so many talents that can be utilized and help so many different people. And I'm just thankful for that. I'm thankful to be able to utilize the gifts, because I know they're going to make room for me. So I'm thankful for that. But with that being said, I've been looking at some of these comments and I just wanted to say, Marina, we do have to end at some point in time. We do have to end, sweetheart. This has been a great show, though. This has been an awesome show. And I definitely want to bring you all back on again. Because there are so many different layers and levels of marriage and just the aspects of marriage that, of course, we can't just touch on in one conversation. That I can guarantee. But everything that you all have said tonight has been so beneficial, not just for me, but I'm sure for my listeners as well. And you've given a lot of great insight on not just the values of marriage, but the precursor stages of marriage and how to keep your marriage fresh, how to remain friends. I feel like, to me, that's always been the biggest thing. If you can't be friends with the person, it's no sense in even going any further than that. You've got to have something to withstand, during those dark times. You got to have something to fall back on, something to lean on, because you may not always see eye to eye. But that friendship between you two is what's going to be that glue almost to keep you together, during those times that it may get tough, or during those times of uncertainty, to know that you still got your ride or die with you. You still got your sidekick with you, hanging in there, Yes, and as condiments, y'all go together, I love that. That is so cute. I love that. But you know what I mean? That's what's the beauty, I think, of marriage is. That's what the beauty of having a committed relationship is, because it's not just about the foundational stuff. It's not just about, hey, we're together and, you do this and this is your role, or this, and the third. It's about actually bringing you two together and building to something better. Building for, let's bring you back up, building that legacy in which you want to have, because ultimately there's going to be somebody that's watching you and they're going to say, you know what? I want a marriage like that. I want a friendship like that. So it's not like you're just living for each other, but you're living for almost the people around you as well. They're watching you. People are watching you, whether you think they are or not, whether you're in ministry or not. they are watching you. And the projections that you all give, it's real, it's genuine.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to be around you to see that you genuinely care about your spouse. You genuinely will do anything to provide for your spouse. You would genuinely do anything to see that your marriage works. So I think in all essence, that's a beautiful thing. That's what this show is all about. So thank y'all. Thank y'all. Now, do either of you have any closing words for this evening? I would love to get your feedback.
Well, we would like to say thank you so much for inviting us, and the other two couples. Awesome. I would love to have that information too, especially for the conference that's getting ready to happen. And if we can't come, we still want to support the conference. Before the Hallelujah tour, I was home here at the house, and I had a cough, but I really didn't know how sick I was. I heard the Spirit of the Lord say, "Get up, get your emergency room." I get to the emergency room. Well, I got up, jumped in the truck. I went about a mile and a half down the road to the emergency room. When I get there, back my truck in, I began to lose my breath. So I jumped out the truck, went into the emergency room, and told them I can't breathe. So they took me back. My wife was out of town, actually in Tallahassee, to the Capitol, doing some work there. And they took me back. They checked my blood pressure. My blood pressure was 195 over 148. They checked me. I had pneumonia. So they checked me again. They sent me to the hospital. Ended up having double pneumonia. I was in the hospital 7 days. And my wife never left but just to take a shower. And she was back. And she was in one of the most critical times at her school, finding a new building, a new site, and all that. But she stayed with me. So I wrote this book here, Eternal Promises, and it breaks down the vows. It really breaks it down because, man, just to look over there with the IVs in my arm, but to see her in an uncomfortable chair, but say, "Boy, I'm not leaving you. I'm not leaving your side," was really, really, really powerful. Just to let me know how much, she really, really, really cares. She was getting mad at the doctors. She's not even a fighter, but she was about to fight to make sure that I was okay. And my last thing, now let my wife, she has something to say. I told you at the beginning, my grandparents, they raised me. Well, my grandfather, he was a diabetic. So it started with a sore on his big toe. They cut his big toe. They sent him home. My grandmother would nurse it, would pike it. They ended up cutting half of his foot. They sent him home. She would nurse it. She would pike it. They end up taking half of his leg. They sent him home. She would nurse it. They end up cutting the other leg off. They sent him home. She was nursing. So she was laid there and sit up by the hospital bed with him every night. So the night he passed, she was holding his arm, holding his hand. She was right there. So my grandfather died in the house. So even though my wife is LFD, her home lady, I preach to the funerals, I sing, but I don't want nothing to do with the dead bodies, right? But my grandfather died in the house, so it took me a while to come back home. Okay. But when I came back home, I went in my room, but I woke up early. It was about 2 a.m. I passed my grandmother's room. My grandmother's head was at the foot of the bed. I said, "Mama, why are you laying at the foot of the bed like this?" She said, "Baby, your daddy is gone. The love of my life is gone. I have no reason to lay at the head of the bed anymore." So just to experience that type of love, I know that God has blessed me with my beautiful wife, to love me for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness, and in health, until death do us part, is one of the most awesome things I can have. And like I said on tour, if she leave me, I'm going with her because we done been too much together.
I'm gonna just leave it at that because I know the other couple have
All right.
marks. I can't say, but I'll just
Oh, and by the way, how can people reach out to you,
They can
whether it's
follow.
on social
They
media
can follow,
or at the church?
they can follow me, Pee Wee Callens, on all social media pages. You can Google Pee Wee Callens, and all my information comes up. Or you can Google my name right there, Calvin Callens. And you can also Google my wife. She has, tell them about your books right quick. Yeah, all the books she has.
So I do have books. I have 2 books that I've written. They're on Amazon. Can I Get a Refill? Overcoming the Spirit of Rejection. And oh no, the first one is My Cup Runneth Over, Overcoming the Spirit of Rejection. And then my second book is Can I Get a Refill? So those are both on Amazon. And you can do the same, just Google Dr. Tandria Callens and information will come up.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Eric and Grace. Any closing words, or just to kind of give people information on how they can follow you? Because you already have fans now.
Well, you can follow me on all social media at Gracefully Vlog with a V, VLOG, on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, no longer Twitter. And then he's E Cubby Designs. And so we are just so happy that we were able to do this. All of the couples are amazing. And for all of the viewers out there, thank you so much for tuning in. And I really hope that this blessed you. Um, it's just a beautiful thing to see godly marriages, and that it is possible. I don't just love him, I actually like him. You know what I mean?
No.
And and that's so important. And I'm grateful to be here. I am grateful for him. He's the E to my G. We call ourselves E and G sometimes, but what I can definitely say, because I know early on you asked this question, like what made you, what was it? Why did you get married? I think that's what it was. I remember I was talking to my cousin Latoya, and I said, if Eric never changed, right? If he was the exact same way he is now, because a lot of times people, they see potential. They're like, I see potential in him. I'm like, no. If he never changed, if he is the way that he is right now forever, would I be okay with that? And I remember saying, absolutely. I know we are going to change in life. There are going to be, like I said, ups, downs. I talked about the rain and the storms and all of that. But I did not marry him for his potential. I married him for who he is. And I am so glad that I did that. Oh, yeah.
No, I definitely married her for who she is,
Mm-hmm.
and love everything about her so much. So to where something that we didn't share in the first, this was like week 3 of us knowing each other, and week 2 of us thinking about dating and all that other good stuff. I told her, tell me everything, good, bad, ugly, whatever, and I'll never judge you for it. This is like your anything you want to tell me. You punched a kid for a free taco. I don't care. No, I'm just saying. I don't whatever it is. Just let me know. And even in our ups and downs, I've never said, "Hey, you remember when you said I never?" Because no, I just wanted to know. And then she was with me with everything. Recently, my grandmother just passed, so when Brother Calvin was telling the story about like with your grandfather and stuff, I didn't want to get sad, so I was trying to think of happy moments, but I didn't want to seem insensitive because I was smiling when you was telling your story because it reminded me of my grandmother and my grandfather with the love and different things of that nature. So I was like, oh, now I gotta. So that's why I left the camera. Um, I just really love every couple. What y'all mentioned tonight, just y'all hearts and stuff. I pray that with the Henson family that y'all conference goes well. Like I pray that people are really impacted by that and just yeah, that everything is blessed and not only in that ministry but your continuing movement for the kingdom, both of y'all, the Collins family and the Henderson family.
And thanks, Miss J.
Oh yeah.
So welcome. You're so welcome. No, this is my pleasure, honestly. This is definitely my pleasure having all of you on here. And it's always a blessing to bring new faces along with familiar faces back onto the show. So, Maria and Chris, I'm going to give you the opportunity to give your last few words as well. Also, mention how people can reach you and give some insight on the conference that's coming up as well that you two are doing for um, your organization. So go right ahead. You're on mute. There you go.
Blessings. Well, thank you so much, Miss J, again for having us, and thank you to the couples for sharing this space with us. You are beautiful, beautiful people. I think for my last words for tonight, I would just really encourage those who are single right now to allow the Lord to process you. Right, truly, truly process you. You really have to do some self-examination and allow the Lord to, stop compartmentalizing your heart and your mind and allow the Lord to go into those deep places that you want to cover up in order to heal.
Yeah.
So you can really be in the place that you can love again freely, just not only love someone else, but love yourself, be in a place that you trust. And just, we talk about, I'm an intercessor for sure. And one of the things that's is my wheelhouse is to pray. So I just always hear people talking about interceding for the government, interceding for our leaders, which is absolutely admirable. And we absolutely should do that. But we should first be our spouse's intercessor. If you are not in a place that you are not interceding, you can be single and interceding for your spouse now. Start interceding for him now. And then there was one time, I'm just going to give a quick brief story. Generally, when I was working, I would be at my computer, actually right where I am right now, and I would, be plugging away, and my husband would come in from working out, and he would give me a kiss on the forehead and then go play with the dogs. Well, this one time he didn't. Never mind all the times that he did, but this one time he did not. And I heard, I started to have a conversation, and the conversation went like, "Oh, what's wrong with him? How come, like, is there something, like, all this stuff? It was me, me, me." And I heard the Holy Spirit say, "Stop." Now, this is why it's important that we take every thought into captivity, right? So I heard the Holy Spirit say, "Stop. Wait, what about if there's something going on with him? Did he have a hard day? Is there something going on with him?" Into my intercession mode and see, is there something wrong? It's not always about us. We don't have to internalize everything. And so he said to me, "I need you to take that thought captive, and it needs to be filtered through me. And only then are your thoughts pure. When our thoughts are filtered through the Holy Spirit, that's when we can reduce arguments, times of intense fellowship, times where you just don't understand where your spouse is at. For my brothers who have lost, who have suffered loss, he lost both of his grandparents, 2 weeks apart from COVID. I lost my best friend, who was also my pastor for 22 years, from stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And that happened within a few months of each other. And we had to hold each other up. Listen, if it was not for the power of the Holy Ghost, I don't even know that we would have been able to make it individually, never mind collectively. So we have to be able to bear each other up in those times, and that is through the power of prayer. And I'll yield there. What you got, babe? What you got? What's your last words?
Well, first and foremost, listen, salutes to the other couples that are on here. You guys are phenomenal, powerful, man, and just destined for more greatness, man. It was a great sharing space with everyone here. Miss J, I think someone put it in the chat like, this can't be over. I'm not going to lie. Like I said, I'm a familiar, so I am a little upset to get a chance to really shake up the algorithm like I really wanted to, man. You know how I get down. But this has been a blessing. This has been good. Man, if I can leave anything, husbands, yeah, I got to at least get a body shot in before I go.
Oh boy.
But now, husbands, listen to your wives. Husbands, listen to your wives. But now it's also, wives, listen to your husbands. As we talk this thing out, this whole conversation is about partnership. Yes. You mentioned it plenty of times, it's teamwork. This is about partnership, provision, and even bringing up God and all these other great things we talked about. This is about partnership. Marriage is about partnership. It's not a self thing. Everybody has each other's back, man. So wives, listen to your husbands. Husbands, listen to your wives, man. Give grace, forgive often, show love. And again, like we mentioned earlier, like do that self work. A marriage is only as blissful as as you are. If you jacked up on the inside, your marriage is going to be jacked up on the inside. How you do some things is how you do everything. So if you're flowing in a place of peace, you're showing prosperity, you're showing love, you're showing goodness, you're showing kindness, that's on the inside of you, you're going to bring that back home. Come on, and so she just made me lose my train of thought.
I get excited.
No, but no, seriously though, man, this is life right here. And I want to see everybody prosper and just do well. But how we do some things is how we do everything. So if we do some things good, great, phenomenal, everything's going to be good, great, and phenomenal across the board. But yeah, listen to each other. You don't know everything in your marriage. Your relationship, you singles, y'all don't know everything. Seek, advice and all these other stuff like. But that's my little 2 cents. That's my piece of as far as like shaking up the algorithm, man. Just listen, understand. You don't know everything. Look out for your wife. Listen to each other. You can go far.
Yeah. And how can people follow you too, and also give some information on the conference as well?
Okay, so the conference is actually not Postured for Proposals conference. That will be coming soon. It's actually a conference by someone else that we will be, we are the speakers, 2 of the speakers. And that is going to be in Orlando, Florida, August 1st through the 4th. If you follow Postured for Proposal, we are on all social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can reach us there. My name is Maria Violetta Henson. He is Christopher Henson. And you can reach us on any of those social media platforms. To be continued for Postured for Proposals conference. And once I get all of the details for the conference in Florida, I will be posting them on both our personal social media accounts as well as Postured for Proposal. Bless you.
Bless you. Thank you all so much again. Thank you to all of our viewers and the comments that you all have been putting up. Like, trust me, I've been watching them all. I've been reading through them all, trying to get as many on the air as much as possible. But thank you all so much for your continued support of the show. And for our newcomers, I'm sure you'll be supporting the show as well moving forward, because trust me, I probably will be calling you again to come back on for something, whether individually or collectively, you will be back. So thank you so much again for being here. And like I said, this has been a great show, great night, and we will definitely table this conversation and continue. Like I said, this has been a great show, great night, and we will definitely table this conversation and continue. Like I said, this has been a great show, great night, and we will definitely. I don't know what happened, but it's good to hear my voice. But anyway, you all have a wonderful, wonderful night, and thank y'all so much again for being here. Peace out.
Find us on our social media page.
Tune in for our next video. Make sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you won't miss out on any future episodes.